Hello and welcome to Cancer Update number 147. This update is almost all good news, not quite all good news, and the reason I'm sitting outside with bits of my body, including my incredibly white and skinny calves, will become obvious quite shortly. So the first bit of good news I'll give you is when I got my B12 results, when my vitamins were available online, it turns out my vitamin B12 was in the normal range. So I'll pop that up on the screen for you. Essentially my result was 240, looks like picomoles per litre. I'm guessing that's what the P stands for. So I got 240 and the normal range is 140 to 1000. So my vitamin B12 is in the normal range, which is great. And I'm not sure how you say that second thing on the screen, but that was in the normal range as well, and folate was in the normal range, so that's good. The next thing, which is why I'm out in the sun, just let me bring it up, is my vitamin D. Now it turns out my vitamin D score was 34, and that looks like it might be nanomoles per litre, and the flag there is up for low because the reference range is anything greater than 50. So I am low on vitamin D, and one of the ways you get vitamin D, or the way I almost certainly have low vitamin D, is I have not been getting out in the sun enough, and that is the reason that I am out in the sun now. Although I probably, considering how white I'm starting from, I probably need to get inside fairly soon because I've been out here for 10 or 15 minutes before I started filming. So it's probably time to get inside. I did look up, I noticed that the test is vitamin D 25OH, and I looked that up just to find out how that worked. And what it is it's 25 hydroxy vitamin D or 25OHD, and that is the main form of vitamin D stored in the body and is the most accurate way to measure vitamin D levels in the blood. The liver converts vitamin D2 and vitamin D3 into 25 hydroxy vitamin D, which is then used by the kidneys to produce active vitamin D. Active vitamin D helps the body use calcium to build bones and keep other cells functioning properly. So I am low on vitamin D. I need to put effort into getting out in the sun and getting vitamin D. There's also foods that are high in vitamin D, like fish, oily fish, I think it is, things like salmon and tuna and things like that. I need to get some vitamin D. So that's the only bit of bad news in this whole video, is I'm quite low actually on vitamin D. And I note that I've been saying to you guys periodically, if you're the type that doesn't get outside, please do get outside and get some sun on your face. This is why I've been saying it, and evidently, very clearly, I haven't been taking enough of my own advice. I need to get out in the sun more, and if I do, then there's definitely some of you that do, because I know some of you get out in the sun even less than me, and I dare say that you almost certainly, unless you're on supplements, you probably do have a vitamin D deficiency. So please do try and get out in the sun. Be careful not to get sunburned, obviously, but do try and get out in the sun. Do have foods rich in vitamin D, and if you need to, take supplements. The effects of not having vitamin D are weak bones for one thing, depression is another thing, and I think trouble sleeping. Do look those things up, but there are quite a few things that happen with vitamin D deficiency. I know depression is one of them. I recall that when I was I worked in England at one stage after I got my degree, and I was there in winter, and I used to walk to work in the dark because the sun hadn't come up by 9 a.m. or 8:30 or whatever, whenever I started work. And I used to work during lunchtime because that would be when someone's computer was free to work on, and there would always be someone's computer that needed some work. So I would work during lunchtime, and then when I walked home at 5 o'clock, it would be dark again. So I would actually go through my whole working week, 5 days in a row, and I wouldn't see the sun. And in England anyway, you might have in other parts of the world, there's a recognised condition called SAD, S-A-D, and it stands for Seasonally Acquired Depression. And it's because during winter in places like England, you can go for basically 6 months of the year or more and barely see the sun, which means you will have a vitamin D deficiency, and that is a known cause of depression. So there you go. So I'm going to be putting more effort into getting some sun without getting too much sun. And there you go. I'm out in the sun today. I haven't put my head out in the sun basically because it looks bad on camera. It also makes it really difficult for me to read the screen. So I'm going to head inside now because I've got enough sun for today, and I'll keep going with this video. There's more news. Hold on, I'm just positioning my head so it looks like I'm wearing a hat. There you go, that's me with a little hat on. Okay, so the other thing I needed to do in terms of getting a baseline of where I'm at with my cancer recovery was have a CT scan with contrast. So that happened last Friday, which was 8 days ago, which means as of this morning, the report of that was available to me on my my health record in my MyGov account. So I've already downloaded it and I've read it, and I'm now going to read it out to you. So I think I'll pop myself off to this side and I'll whack it over on the other side. Okay, so reading it out to you. CT chest abdo pelvis with IV contrast. Oh, now I need to tell you something. I have my portacath, which is that there, and with previous CT scans with contrast, they've used that to inject the contrast into my bloodstream when they take the scan. This time, or last time it was used, it was working, pushing fluid in, but it wasn't back flushing, so they couldn't then use it to draw blood out, which means it's got basically a partial blockage. The way they explained it to me was at the end of the tube, a little flap of tissue grows, and when you push fluid in, the flap opens up and allows it in, but when you try and suck something back, the flap closes. Effectively, your body forms a one-way valve. Now, because my portacath is only working in one direction, the radiologist or radiographer, said, no, we're not going to use the portacath, I'll give you a catheter. So at that point, this thing became useless, okay? So we'll come back to that point later, but for now, let's just go with, I had a CT IV contrast using a cannula. They didn't use my portacath. Okay. So clinical history, 54-year-old male with a history of redo peritonectomy with a history of appendiceal cancer for surveillance. Technique was IV contrast for an enhanced CT scan. This result was compared to a CT chest abdo pelvis from the 11th of June 2024. The findings in the chest, linear atelectasis in bilateral lung bases unchanged. Basically what that means is the bases of both of my lungs are not fully inflated, and that's basically a function of me having had 2 surgeries that were over 13 hours each, and the fact that I'm not active enough to be really working my lungs. And because of that, the bases of my lungs have not fully inflated, and they're staying not fully inflated. And I barely notice it. I've looked at the images, and it's a very, very small amount of lung capacity that I'm missing, but it is notable. You can see it. So that's what that's talking about. No pulmonary nodules, so that's great. No hilar or mediastinal lymphadenopathy. Okay, so there's a few words there. Hilar. Hilar means any blood vessel or nerve vessel that connects to an organ. So like for example, well, your large intestine is probably a really good example. It has nerves and blood vessels that connect onto it, as do your kidneys and a bunch of other organs inside your body. So there's no hilar lymphadenopathy. Lymphadenopathy means swelled up lymph nodes. So lymph nodes that are not happy, inflamed lymph nodes. That's the word I'm looking for. Mediastinal. Okay, so you know where your sternum is. So you've got your sternum there. If you imagine all of the organs that sit behind your sternum in that central third of your chest cavity. So in the central third, you've got your heart, you've got your trachea, your esophagus, and you've got your the thymus, which sits behind the top of your sternum, so behind where the tip of my finger is now. And the thymus is really important for your immune system. It produces blood cells called T lymphocytes, which are very important for you to stay healthy. So that's the other thing that's within your mediastinum. And my report indicated that there was no inflamed lymph nodes within my mediastinum. So my chest area is actually looking great. So that's good to hear. And no pericardial or pleural effusions. So that's great. So around my heart and around my lungs, everything is looking quite normal. So that's great. Down in the abdomen and pelvis, there is a previous partial colectomy. So that means, they can see that part of my intestines has been removed, with an end colostomy in the left para-umbilical region, multiple surgical clips throughout the peritoneal cavity, consistent with a peritonectomy. The previously demonstrated low-density peritoneal deposits superior to the bladder are no longer seen. Okay, so if you remember, I had that big mass in front of my bladder before I had my second operation. They now can't see that anymore. So clearly it was removed during the operation, which is great news. No new peritoneal nodule or mass identified. That sounds great. Portable small hypoattenuating liver lesions are unchanged. So we know about that. I've got a couple of little spots in my liver that are clearly, by now we're very sure they're benign. They're there, they're not changing, and they're small. So they're just little benign lesions. No new or enlarging liver lesions. Cholecystectomy, so I've had my gallbladder removed. No intra or extrahepatic bile duct dilation. So my bile duct looks normal, so that's good. Pancreas appears normal. Previous splenectomy, so my spleen is missing, that's good. The adrenal glands and kidneys appear normal. Urinary bladder and prostate are unremarkable. So unremarkable is great, it means they're boring. And I'm very happy that they look boring. Skeletal, no concerning lytic or aclerotic bone lesions. So lytic or lysis means to split. So there's no bone splits, and sclera means hard. So basically my bones look normal. That's basically what that means. Now, the conclusion is fabulous. So conclusion, the previously demonstrated hypoattenuating, likely mucinous peritoneal deposits are no longer present. No new peritoneal lesions identified. Multiple small, indeterminate hypoattenuating liver lesions are stable. No evidence of disease progression. So this means I am now what's called NED, which is no evidence of disease, which is obviously amazing and fantastic news. And so this point, that's a celebration. I mean, this is great. I'm not in any imminent threat of having cancer take me, which is absolutely great. Doesn't mean I'll be NED forever, but it means I am NED now, and that's something to be celebrated. I do want to relate to you one kind of weird, or I don't know, notable thing that I've found myself doing, which is I'm on a couple of Facebook groups for people that have my disease, pseudomyxoma peritonei. And periodically people post on there the fact that they have recently been declared NED, or that they're at a milestone, like they're 5 years of NED. And when they do that, and when I was, in the raging middle of my disease, it kind of used to piss me off because they would be so happy that they were NED, and I'd be thinking, yeah, but what about me? This thing's going to kill me. And so I had a really, I wasn't able to bring myself to the point where I was actually happy for them. I mean, occasionally I would say congratulations, but I would say I wasn't feeling it. I was feeling sorry for myself ahead of feeling happy for them. So the first thing I want to do when I sit here and say that I'm currently NED is, if you're hearing this message and you're feeling pissed off for me and sad for yourself, I want you to know that that's exactly how I felt. So you're not alone in that. And I'd point out to you that I had a pretty severe case of PMP. Not the most severe. I am aware of people that have come into my orbit that at their first presentation they are palliative, that they are inoperable. And when I say inoperable, I mean Prof Morris, who I describe as the finest surgeon in this area, certainly in Australia, possibly in the world. Prof Morris has looked at it and said, I cannot operate on this person. And if you remember my history, the surgeon in Western Australia said, I can't operate on him. When I went to Prof Morris said, I can operate on him and I will come over to Sydney and I'll do it. So I know that there are some people that Prof Morris has said no to, and I really feel for you if that is you. There's no words. This cancer is just a horrible, horrible thing, and for some of us it doesn't end well. For many of us, it doesn't end well. So if that's you, my heart goes out to you. And who's to say that I won't end up back in that situation? But for now, I'm no evidence of disease. So I'm living each day and each experience as it occurs to me. And this as this moment has hit me, it is a good thing and something I need to run with. So this means I need to get on with living, because I'm certainly not dying at this point. So I'm trying to think of things to do with myself. So I'll take you out into the carport, and I'll show you. Let's do it now. Let's go for a walk. So Okay. So you know back. I used to wreck cars. I used to wreck Mazda 3s. So it probably shouldn't surprise you that I bought a smashed up Mazda 3. So I just once the door has gone up, so it's the door going up there. This is the Mazda 3 that I've bought. You can see it because the screen's gone. There you go. So that is all smashed up, and I'm going to see how I go wrecking it for parts. I'll just head back inside. So that's that. So that's what I'm going to do with my time for the time being anyway. I've put an ad online and it's not getting that many hits, so I'm not quite sure why that is. But I'll keep trying. I didn't pay that much for the car. I didn't take particularly much of a financial risk buying the car. If it doesn't work out, I'll lose a couple $100. That's all. So there you go. So that's that. The other thing I clearly need to do is get out in the sun. So probably my next couple of videos will be me doing things in the sun, because that's what I need to do with my life right now. And Caroline and I are planning a trip down to the southwest of Australia. So no doubt I'll show you a bit around Margaret River when we get closer to Christmas. So that'll be good. And I'm toying with the idea, well, I'm not just toying, I'm getting more serious with the idea of either going back to work at the health department, or there's some jobs teaching English as a second language in Perth that I think I would enjoy. So I'm looking at that, and then there's just any other work possibility that I'm that I'm allowed to do. I actually spoke to my GP and said, would I be okay being an Uber driver? Because Uber driving is something I don't have any anxiety about going back to. I've been an Uber driver before. It's not that hard. I love driving my car, and you earn okay money. You earn okay money. And nowadays money I don't need to be rich. I just need to have enough. And Uber driving would give me enough. So that would be fine. So anyway, so that's something else that I'll need to address going forwards is what do I do with myself? Because I am now going to be hanging around and I need to do something with my time. So yeah, so that's where we're at. I think that's it. So yeah. So if you haven't already, please click like. Looks like I'm going to be around for a while. And yeah, if you're out there and you're living with cancer, you're not alone by any stretch of the imagination. And hopefully, if my journey indicates anything, it is that for some people, you can come back from what is a pretty extreme situation. And certainly, every piece of information I was reading on the internet was telling me that this disease was definitely going to kill me and probably going to kill me fairly quickly. I'm now, I think, 18 months. So it was late March, early April 2023. So yeah, that is 18 months ago, or 17 months ago, since I've been diagnosed, and I'm very much alive. And so hopefully that gives you some hope that that you can be in what appears to be a hopeless situation and actually pull through. I'm not saying it happens to everyone, but I'm certainly 17 months post. You know, for those of you that have watched, you know, Cancer Update 1, I think it is, or there's, I forget whether it's one. There's one where I really just lose it, and that was, you know, obviously genuinely how I was feeling in that moment, and here I am today, a year and a half later, and I can't say everything's fine because I'm not the same. You know, I have a colostomy now with my stoma. My feet hurt, and I'd say my confidence is really rattled. I won't go into, you know, all the previous jobs I've ever had, but for those of you that have followed intensely, you'll know some of the jobs I've done in the past, and those jobs required an amazing amount of self-confidence, and I now find myself pretty much lacking in self-confidence. I'm not feeling like I can just burst back into the employment market and hit the ground running. You know, I've been on Seek, which is a job website in Australia, and when I read the jobs, as soon as they say something like fast-paced environment or juggling multiple priorities, I get like an anxiety and like, oh no, I don't want to do that job because I don't want to have a fast-paced environment and be juggling multiple things. Like I don't want that stress, you know. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, I would have gone, yeah, that's fine. Let's get amongst it and tear it to pieces. Now I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want something that's a bit more steady than that and not jumping around all over the place. So yeah, I'm finding myself very allergic to certain job ads on the internet. So that's telling me a couple of things. And one is that my self-confidence isn't what it used to be, and also my appetite for stress, I guess, my appetite is much lower. So, you know, that's understandable, I think. Anyway, I've rabbited on a bit. I'm gonna go now. So click that like. Everything's fine in my world. I hope everything's fine in your world. And we're gonna keep going on this journey. I'll see you again soon. See you later from Paul in Perth. When I watched the video back, I realised that I'd left two topics of conversation unresolved. So I'm just going to add on this quick addendum just to answer those two questions. Firstly, there was the one about me talking to my GP about being an Uber driver. My GP indicated that she was not comfortable with signing off on the medical for that, given the amount of painkillers that I'm on. So I won't be being an Uber driver, unfortunately. The second one was to do with my infuser port. So what happened there was, because it's now, gosh, it's hard to do things in the mirror. Because it's now not working, basically, and the medical professionals are refusing to use it now, it is just a useless thing that annoys me. So I've made a booking for December 5 to have it surgically removed. So I'll be saying goodbye to the infuser port. There you go. That's the end of update 147. Talk to you again soon. See you later. Bye.